How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the preseason roundup for the Elite Battle League Season 4. I am your host, Lonely Hermit. That's right, I'm doing this alone. You might have heard some different things as to who is going to be my co-host, but some things changed, and now I am going to be doing the roundups alone, which is perfectly okay by me, I guess. But yes, we're going to be going through all 12 teams in the Elite Battle League, and I'm sort of going to be giving my thoughts, overviews on them, and all that good stuff, what we should expect out of them. But be sure to subscribe to this channel, the Elite Battle League channel. Subscribe, leave a like on this video if you enjoy, but subscribe to see future roundups and future content on the channel. There's also going to be links to all the coaches in the description, so go subscribe to them so you do not miss a single episode of the series. But let's get right into this. We're starting with the Mega Conference. I'm going in order of how we have it in the Discord. So to anyone who's watching from the Elite Battle League, that's the order I'm doing it. But we're starting with the Mega Conference. First up, we have the Detroit Electrays. Their coach is Gamer Views. They have Kyogre, Ludicolo, Zoroark, Gengar, Rotom Heat, Zapdos, Seismitoad, Gyarados, and Miltank, with one of the most interesting picks this season's draft. Miltank. We're not quite sure yet what it's going to do. This is obviously it's a rain team. It's like a hybrid rain team. It's a good one. Miltank does learn Thunder, so I'm sure we might see that at some point, but I'm sure Max is thinking of some different strategies to try and utilize that Miltank. And also, another big thing is that Gyarados. We have not seen Gyarados in the Elite Battle League either. A D-Dancing Moxie Gyarados is just a menace, so that's going to be really interesting to see how he uses it. We've yet to see Zapdos on a Drizzle team as well. We have yet to see Zapdos period in the Elite Battle League, but we have not seen it on a Rain team. Zapdos' synergy on a rain team is off the charts. It's a really good rain team Pokemon. So we'll see how Zapdos fares in there. Obviously, there's a couple wayward picks with Zoroark and Gengar. From what Max told me, it was a sort of it was just kind of throw people off. You know, they expected Drizzle with Kyogre, Ludicolo. He drafts Zoroark and Gengar, and then the rest of his team, I'd say, relatively fits with a rain team. Rotom Heat. Maybe not. I'm not quite sure how it'll fare. I mean, it's to deal with grass types and ice types, I'm assuming. So it's probably a really good check Pokemon. Zoroark as well is going to be a really good check Pokemon for him. I think Max is one of the dark horses this season. He had a rough couple, first 2 seasons, and last season he really stepped it up big time. Probably one of the biggest glow ups we've seen in the Elite Battle League. He went from almost going 0-5 to going 4-1 in the regular season. However, him and the next person we're going to be talking about have a similar problem when it comes to the playoffs. Neither of them have gotten past the first round of playoffs, so I'm sure that's a goal for Max, is to get have a good regular season, but get past that first round in the playoffs. So I think he has the potential to do it. I don't think this is a bad team by any means. I think a lot of the teams in the Mega Conference are very stacked. In my opinion, this is the more stacked, on paper, this is the more stacked conference. I think I said division earlier, but I think this is the more stacked conference, and Max is no exception. I think he's got a good team to deal with his weaknesses, and I think that rain team, this is the third, maybe the fourth, I think the third iteration we're seeing of a rain team. So I think he can definitely do some damage here with this team. People need to keep an eye out for it. And again, I think he's got good checks for his weaknesses. So expect some good things out of Max. My expectations for him are pretty high, and he's definitely one of the teams I'm going to be keeping an eye out through the rest of the season. Now, moving on, we have the Iowa Incineroar. Their coach is Inferno Man. They drafted Swampert, Weavile, Venusaur, Arcanine, Loden, Raichu, Skarmory, Minshall, Tapu Fini, and Giratina. Now, again, I can draw a lot of similarities between Iowa and Detroit, because Iowa came off last season, 4-1, but unfortunately they still can't quite get over that first round playoff, slump. That's definitely going to be a goal for them. Landon has said it multiple times, to get past that first round of the playoffs. So we're going to see what he can do in the regular season first, because he had a solid regular season last season. In his first, back in season 2, it started good, then obviously it trailed off as the season went on, but last season he definitely stepped it up. He hasn't, he did say in his preseason interview that he got quite a bit of help from Offline last season. So this season, for those of you who might not know, Offline Nuzlocke can't help any of the competitors in the Elite Battle League. So I'm interested to see. Obviously, I know he's gonna get some training and stuff with a couple people, but I'm interested to see if Landon can keep it up. I know that battle sense is there. I'm sure he has learned a lot since season 2 with or without the help of others. So I think he maybe just needs to come up with confidence, and it'll show in his battling. I think that'll be something that's really big for him. He's got a good team. He's got quite a good team to do that. We've yet to see Giratina in the league. The Sinnoh legendaries are very strong, so I would not be surprised if Giratina comes up big for him. Tapu Fini as well, we have not seen that. So I think those two are going to be big for him. Minshall was probably maybe his most out there pick, but I definitely can still see it doing damage. Minshall was a menace on Marshall's team in black and white, so I'm definitely not underestimating that Minshall by any means, but the rest of his team is also solid. I mean, it's just a solid all-around team. Landon can definitely do damage. He just needs to be able to put in the time with the team building and all that good stuff. I think that's really what it's going to come down to, is his prep for matches. If he can prep well, do his research, do his homework, and come in with a good plan, I think he can do a lot of damage this season. So expect some things out of the Iowa Incineroar. Now moving on, we have the Los Angeles Inferno with I can't even speak when it comes to my own team. We have the Los Angeles Inferno, whose coach is myself, yours truly. I just started stumbling as soon as I got to my team. I drafted Mewtwo, Primarina, Thundurus, Excadrill, Leafeon, Duraludon, Aerodactyl, Magmortar, and Drapion. I'm gonna keep this one relatively short and sweet. I think I drafted a really good all-around team, a team that can cover a lot of its own weaknesses. It's a little bit a slight glass cannon. There's not a ton of Pokemon on the team that can take hits all too well, but at the same time, there are ways to counter that with this team. And much like Landon, I think I just need to really do my research and really put in more time than I did back in season 2, because back in season 2 I really didn't do a lot of training until week 5, and it showed, because week 5 in the first round of playoffs I came up with some really big wins. I mean, it felt really good to get those wins. So definitely, if I put in the time, if I put in the correct amount of planning and research and make sure that my team is ready, because I've learned a lot from watching the Elite Battle League and from the way people prep for matches and stuff. It's okay. It's, how do I put it? You can prep as much as you want for a specific Pokemon or whatever, but at the end of the day, you need to prep for everything. That's where it gets difficult. I would say my battle style compared to a lot of other people's is a little unorthodox. It's a little weird. That has bit me before. It has bit me before, but I think if I'm able to keep a cool head in my matches, remember to bring the right Pokemon, and prep correctly and thoroughly, I think I can have a good shot of doing some damage in the EBL this season. Now, moving on, we have the only true newcomer who has yet to play a single match, who's yet to coach a single match in the Elite Battle League. We have It's Really Timmy B, whose team is the DC Starmies. He's coaching the DC Starmies. His team was Urshifu Single, Reshiram, Rillaboom, Mandibuzz, Rotom Mo, Starmie, Sylveon, Mamoswine, and Lycanroc Dusk. Another solid all-around team. This one might be a little shorter too. I'm not quite sure what to say about Timmy. He really hasn't done any competitive at all. I don't think he has much experience at all with competitive. I'm sure he's been training. I'm sure he's been practicing with his team. I'm sure he's prepping and getting ready for this season. He's definitely going to be one to keep an eye out for, because he's new. We don't know what to expect out of him. This team that he drafted is pretty good. I will say, on paper, it is a pretty good team. So I think again, similar to me, he needs to just kind of make sure he preps and trains and make sure he knows how to use the team. You might see some quote-unquote basic plays out of him, maybe some simple strategies to get started, and then as to get himself warmed up. But then as time goes on, and I can see him just using more and more different strategies. I know he's a very attack-minded coach, just Pokemon player in general. He's a attack-minded player, so whether that'll come back to bite him, I'm not quite sure. But I think as the season goes on, he'll start to adapt more and more and more. So I think he could be definitely a dark horse, where towards the end of the season, he might not have a good first couple weeks, but as the season goes on, he gets better and better. So again, I don't really know what to expect out of Timmy. but I think he's someone who will definitely who could definitely show a lot of improvement as the season goes on. And who knows, maybe when he gets into the playoffs, he could pull a Matt back in season 1, Stone Fam, Matty Ice back in season 1 when he had that late season run all the way to the championship. So who knows, maybe we could see a late season run out of him as he grows and adapts. Now moving on to our penultimate team in the Mega Conference, we have the Kiwana Gengars, coached by Latin Luigi. He put together a theme team. This is, I think, the first theme team we're going to be covering today out of a few. We have Buzzwole, Serena, Incineroar, Chandelure, Poltegeist, Glastrier, Klinklang, Aromatisse, and Cofagrigus. For those of you who might not know, his team is based on Beauty and the Beast. But that does not mean this is a team that should be overlooked. That is a dangerous team. That is a lot of firepower. You have 2 boost legendaries in Buzzwole and Glastrier, and then obviously Poltegeist with that Shell Smash is very dangerous. Shell Smash, weak armor, dangerous set from that Poltegeist. And then at the same time, you really can't count out a lot of these other Pokemon that are on his team as well. He has made it clear that this is going to be a Trick Room team, and in my opinion, this is actually, I talked about this with Lionheart. I was gonna say his other name was Lionheart. That this is the first real Trick Room team that we've seen since season 1. This is a true Trick Room team. These are pretty slow Pokemon, and Trick Room is very viable on this team. We've seen a couple hybrids in season 2 and 3. We've seen, was it Jack? I think Alan tried using it at one point as well. We've seen a couple hybrid Trick Room teams, but this is the first true Trick Room team we've seen since season 1. So I'm interested to see if Luigi will really lean into the Trick Room. He's known for being a quite unorthodox battler. He uses a lot of different strategies. He does a lot of different things, and he will keep you on your toes. So I don't expect Trick Room to be the only major strategy we see out of him this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a staple on his team. So yeah, I definitely think Luigi's got the potential to do quite a bit. Even though this is a theme team, this is not a team that can be overlooked, and it's very dangerous if left unchecked. Now, if he loses his big hitters, that's where he'll start to struggle, I'm sure. But definitely, if this team does not get checked early in the battle, whoever's facing him is going to struggle. So this is a dangerous, I think this might be the most dangerous team in the league in terms of the most explosive team in the league, I think, is the better word to use, because he can obviously pop off at any time, and it's going to be a menace to deal with. So yeah, Luigi, definitely a team to keep an eye out for. Maybe, might see some big wins out of him throughout the season. Moving on to our final team in the Mega Conference, we have the 2-time champ, who unfortunately had to drop out in season 3, but was definitely heavy favorites in season 3. Might have gone for the 3-peat. It was definitely on the cards. We have the Florida for Alligators, coached by Lionheart Plays. He recently changed his name. The team is Lugia, Zacian, Grimmsnarl, Glaring Weezing, Togekiss, Whimsicott, Alolan Ninetales, Barraskewda, and Renarius. Almost a theme team. He was originally going to go all fairies, then he wanted to use Lugia, and then he ended up taking Barraskewda and Renarius. But regardless, again, another team that you really can't overlook. Obviously, the coach is incredible. He's riding on a 10-game win streak, by the way. It's active. It's still active. He's on a 10-game win streak right now, I believe. I think it's 10. I'm pretty sure it's 10. He's coming off of a 5-0 season. He, again, was in line to get his 3rd straight championship. So maybe not the strongest team he's drafted, but it's still a team that cannot be overlooked. It's very strong. You talk about firepower, this team has got it. Zacian, Barraskewda, we haven't really seen, a lot out of Barraskewda in EBL. I think, honestly, Lionheart could come up big with that Barraskewda. This is a dangerous Pokemon. Again, that's if left unchecked, can be really explosive. Zacian, obviously, Intrepid Sword is an amazing ability, and it's just a naturally a great hitter. Lugia, we haven't seen it in the league. We've seen its counterpart. We've seen Ho-Oh. We have not seen Lugia. So I'm really interested how he's going to use it. More offensive. It can be bulky. I know Lugia can be a fairly bulky Pokemon. So I'm interested to see how he uses that. Prankster, Grimmsnarl, obviously. Glaring Weezing is a very annoying Pokemon to face. It's not an easy one to face, to predict in terms of what it's going to run. It's pretty annoying. So we'll see what he does with the Glare and Weezing. And then Togekiss. We haven't really seen Serene Grace Togekiss in the EBL. So I'm interested to see if it gets used on this team, and if it can actually do a lot of damage, because Togekiss really hasn't done a whole lot in the EBL up to this point. It has been drafted every single season, if I'm, I think so. I think like 99% sure it's been drafted every single season, and we really haven't seen Serene Grace used to its full potential. We haven't seen Togekiss in general used to its full potential, so I'm interested to see how he uses that. Obviously, Whimsicott returns as well, and Alola Ninetales with Aurora Veil is very annoying as well. So this is a team that can cause a lot of problems. It can be really annoying, but can also hit you pretty hard. So I'm interested to see how he, is able to come up big this season. Again, he's riding high on a win streak. He's a 2-time champ. You can't underestimate him as a coach, and you definitely cannot underestimate his team. Now, moving on, we have the Dynamaxx Conference. Some interesting teams in here, and more theme teams. I believe there's a couple. There's three theme teams in the Dynamaxx Conference. And first up, the Kentucky Kinglers, coached by Derek, aka Always More Videos. His team has every single typing in Pokemon. I think that kind of bit him trying to do that, but we'll see. He drafted Crocodile, Klefki, Galvantula, Blaziken, Archeops, Rangaroo, Appletun, Cloyster, and Haunter. Man, this is arguably on paper the worst team in the EBL Season 4 right now. But with that being said, there are some power hitters on this team. You have Crocodile, Moxie Crocodile, which is dangerous. You have Sticky Web Galvantula. It's just a really good utility mon to use. There's a reason it's been drafted quite a bit in the EBL. You have Speed Boost Blaziken, who could baton pass into that Moxie Crocodile. So that is very, very dangerous as well. Not to mention Blaziken in and of itself is a hard hitter as well. It's a very good Pokemon. You have Defeatus Archeops, which Archeops will only be useful until its HP falls below 50%. Then it's done. It's tapped out. You may as well just let it go down after that. Rangaroo, Appletun. I'm not sure how those two are going to get used. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I've never seen a Rangaroo competitive. I've never even seen Appletun competitive. One ice type move, that Appletun is gone. Like, it's deleted off the field completely. So I don't know what he's going to do with those two. He has to bring them at some point. So we'll see what strategy he can come up with. Skill Link Cloyster could be an interesting Pokemon. Could be good. Haunter is, I think, the biggest wild card on this team, to be perfectly honest. Levitate on it, and it is not a... Haunter's, of all the not fully evolved Pokemon you could pick, Haunter is not a bad one. Haunter is not a bad Pokemon, and I'm gonna laugh so hard if that thing ends up on the logo somehow. But Haunter is not a Pokemon that can necessarily be overlooked. It's not one of the worst not fully evolved Pokemon you can get. So this team, it's got Pokemon that can do work. It's also got Pokemon that might drag this team down in the future. If I'm Derek, I'm trying to knock out all the Pokemon I don't want to use later in the season, right? Like week 1. Just knock them all out. And so that way you can use the team you want to use later in the season. Or just go big straight from the beginning. I don't know. We'll see with this team. Again, on paper, it's arguably the worst. It is the worst statistically by base stat total. It is the worst team in the EBL, but there's a lot of potential with some of these Pokemon. So we'll see. Derek's a good battler, man. Derek's a good battler. He underestimates himself all the time. So we'll see. You really can't count him out. He's a great battler. So we'll see what strategies he can come up with this team. But it's not looking like the best start for him in the preseason here. Now moving on, we have the Walton Wingles. Let me take a quick drink of water here. Coached by NateTube, drafted Toxapex, Tapu Koko, Metagross, Machamp, Ninetales, Cantonian Ninetales, Mr. Rhyme, Corviknight, Noivern, and Aurorus, which is probably the most interesting pick on this team. Aurorus is, a Mach Punch, and that thing goes down. It's not a fantastic Pokemon because of its typing. But regardless, other than that, we've seen what Noivern can do in the EBL. We've seen what Corviknight can do in the EBL. They're both fantastic Pokemon that have been used well. In my opinion, those are the two on this team that have been used the best. We've yet to see Aurorus. We've yet to see Mr. Rhyme. We've yet to see this Ninetales or Machamp. So those are a little bit of wild cards. Tapu Koko, definitely, it did not do bad when Landon had it, but it definitely could have done better. So we'll see how Nate is able to use it. We have Metagross as well, which did not do well when it was in Max's hands back in season 1. I don't remember if it's been drafted since then, but I know for sure Max had it in season 1. It didn't do fantastic. And then there's Machamp, yet to be drafted. So I don't know. We'll see with Machamp. It's an interesting pick. It's a bit of a wild card. Not the fastest, but it does have a good variety of punch moves and all that good stuff. So we'll see what he can do. We have the Droutmon and Ninetales, good fire type, solid fire type. But the one I'm most interested in is Mr. Rhyme. Set up screens. I'm sure there's other shenanigans that you can get up to with Mr. Rhyme. I think that's going to be a big part of his team. Mr. Rhyme is definitely going to be a big wild card on his team as well. Not quite sure how it's going to be used. Corviknight as well. I don't know if he's going to want to try and use the substitute bulk up set that I used back in season 2, or if he's just going to try and go out more offensive, like it was used in seasons 1 and 3. So we'll see. We'll see how Corviknight gets used on this team. It doesn't look like the most bulky team in the world. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's a team that has quite a few glaring weaknesses, but if Nate has been training and he's been working on his his game and his competitive knowledge, then I think he can definitely do some work with this team. This is one of the better looking teams in the Dynamaxx Conference, in my opinion. So we'll see what Nate can do. Again, if he's been doing some off-season training, I think he's got a lot of potential. He's a relatively new coach. This is his team for the first time as well, so we'll see what he can do when he puts together a team of his own. We'll see what sort of work he can put in this season. Now moving on to another theme team, we have our first mono type team in the Elite Battle League. We have the Atlanta Bravery, coached by Stone Family 64, Matty Ice specifically. He drafted Volcarona, Fairybosa, Vikavolt, Genesect, Crustle, Heracross, Rakuten, Excelgor, and Ninjask. Mono Bug is an interesting typing to choose for a mono type team, because Bug is notorious for having a lot of weaknesses. Now I think Matt did well here to put together a team that covers a lot of its weaknesses. However, I think this is going to be, I think the biggest challenge for Matt isn't necessarily going to be his opponents. It's going to be balancing his team, because he has covers for his weaknesses, but the problem is he doesn't have a lot. He has covers for flying, he has covers for fire and rock, at some of the other weaknesses that Bug type has, which I actually think those are the main 3, but he has coverage for those typings. But the problem is once those, it's really just 1, maybe 2 Pokemon in his team that can counter those. So the second those counters go down, what's there to stop a flying type coming out and wrecking his team, or a fire type or rock type coming in from wrecking his team? There's nothing that's going to stop it. So he needs to be careful, because if his counter goes down, if his check goes down, he's really going to struggle. The floodgates are going to open, and that match is going to get ugly, assuming the other coach still has a Pokemon that can expose that weakness. So it's going to be a lot of balancing, I think, for Matt this season. It's going to be a lot of balancing between his weaknesses and his strengths. He needs to be really careful. Crustle is obviously one of his biggest flying type counters. If that thing goes down, Vikavolt is also another big counter. If those go down, I mean, Heracross, Rakuten, Excelgor, Ninjask, Volcarona, Fairybosa, they're all extremely vulnerable. Well, specifically Fairybosa and Heracross are extremely vulnerable to flying types. So those are 2 of his heaviest hitters. So we'll see. I mean, he's got fire type counters as well, all that good stuff. I don't know. I think this is, if Matt is able to balance his team well between his weaknesses and his strengths, I think he can do well with this mono team. He did well to cover his weaknesses, but he needs to make sure his checks don't go down and he doesn't get exposed to a glaring weakness. So he needs to be really careful this season. I think he needs to walk a tightrope with this team. So we'll see. We'll see what he can do. I think there's potential there to come up with some wins with the first mono type team in the EBL. So we'll see. We'll see what he was able to pull off. Moving on, we have the last theme team in the Elite Battle League this season. The Texas Tyranitar, coached by the Doorman. He went with the first mono region team. He went with a Hoenn team, which is not a bad region to pick. There's some very good Pokemon in there, and I think he picked a lot of the best ones. He put together, the team he put together was Jirachi, Rayquaza, Quaza, Sceptile, Torkoal, Aggron, Walrein, Claydol, Manectric, and Crawdaunt. To my knowledge, we haven't seen Crawdaunt, Manectric, Claydol, Aggron, and Sceptile in the league. We've seen everyone else. Oh, Jirachi as well. We've seen Walrein, we've seen Torkoal, and we've seen Rayquaza, Quaziqual, Kulkuzi. I don't think we've seen anyone else. I'm not 100% sure. You guys can fact check me on that. But this team, like I said, he picked a good region. Hoenn has got a lot of good Pokemon, a lot of very solid Pokemon. And he picked a lot of them. Aggron has got really good defenses, physical defenses. So it can definitely be a wall for him. And speaking of wall, Walrein is a very solid water ice type as well. Claydol's an interesting Pokemon because it's a pretty good utility Pokemon. You know, you got screens, you got Trick Room, you got explosion or self-destruct if it gets too rough out there for Claydol. But then there's a couple wild cards in a Manectric and Crawdaunt. Crawdaunt's attack stat is incredibly high. It's a pretty hard hitter. It's equal to its water dark counterpart in Hoenn. Not as fast, not nearly as fast as Sharpedo, but it can definitely be a hard hitter. You need to be careful when going against that Crawdaunt. The water dark does give it a couple of vulnerabilities, but you know, again, if left unchecked, one Swords Dance and that Crawdaunt is going to start hitting like a truck. It's a very dangerous Pokemon. Manectric as well is an interesting pick. Obviously Rayquaza Quasi-Quazy is a very dangerous dragon flying type. One Ice type move, it does go down, but it's still very dangerous, hard hitter, and it's one you need to keep an eye out for. But in my opinion, the core of this team is going to be that Jirachi. It is an annoying Pokemon with Serene Grace. It's got a fantastic typing with Steel Psychic. It is a dangerous Pokemon if left unchecked, if you do not take that thing out early. I think that's where a lot of opponents are going to struggle with Texas, with that Jirachi. Is if that Jirachi does not go down relatively early in the battle, because the longer the battle goes and the more that Jirachi is around, it's just going to be annoying. It's going to be an annoying check for whoever has to face this team. So I think Jirachi is going to be the heart of this team. It's a very good Pokemon, man. I'm surprised it took this long for it to get drafted. And I think it's going to be the core of his team. So I think if that Jirachi goes down, he still has some great Pokemon, don't get me wrong. But if that Jirachi goes down, it's going to become a little easier to weather the storm. But it's one of those Pokemon that he could just switch into and just be annoying. So expect a lot out of that Jirachi. I really think it's going to be a big Pokemon for this team. But regardless, I think Allen, you know, he was on the up and up as the season went on in season 3. He kept getting better. His losses weren't even that bad, to be perfectly honest. He kept getting better as the season went on. So I hope that trend continues, and I hope in this season he continues to improve and get better and better and better. Now moving on, we have the reigning champs, the Essex Espeons, coached by PokePidge. He drafted Mew, Eternatus, Lapras, Espeon, Mimikyu, Crobat, Zoroark, Double, and Eldegoss. His drafting prowess is actually pretty good. His team building prowess is actually pretty good. Probably one of the best in the league. He is probably one of the best in the league at building teams. I'd say he might be the best. I think the teams he put together they have purposes. Every single Pokemon has a purpose. I think every single Pokemon in this team is going to serve a purpose at one point or another. He obviously brought back the Mew, the greatest, I mean, all-around Pokemon in just Pokemon in general, in my opinion. It's got, you know, stats neutral across the board, so you can build it however you want. It can learn every single move in the game. Great Pokemon to use. It could be utility, it could be support, it can be an offensive Pokemon, it could be a defensive Pokemon. Whatever you want from this thing, it can do it. So Mew is still need to keep an eye out for that. He has Eternatus as well. Brought that back. Lapras, which has been drafted every single season. Expect to see Gmax Resonance. Pidge is definitely known for his defensive tactics, so expect to see Gmax Resonance at one point or another this season. Mimikyu has probably one of the harder hitters on his team. One Swords Dance, that thing is ready to go as well. But he's got a lot of potential with his team. It's a very good team, definitely one of the best teams in the league right now. Zoroark is going to be annoying for opponents. I have a feeling he's going to utilize that very well. And obviously Double is, you know, a couple cheeky strategies with Double and Eldegoss that he can pull off. Those two I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for, because they, like I said, there's some cheeky strategies he can pull off with those two Pokemon. So we'll see what he does. But he set himself up great, arguably with maybe even a better team than he had last season, to try and retain that trophy. To try and get back to that final and get back his championship status and be the second two-time champ. So we'll see. He's got some stiff competition though by our next competitor, who everyone has been saying they've been afraid of. I mean, every preseason interview I've done, it's been these two have been brought up. It is Bob, the Indiana Igglybuffs, coached by Bob, aka Yeltnib. His team, he got the Bunny, Cinderace, Dragonite, Sableye, Magearna, Scolipede, Magnezone, Quagsire, Snorlax, and Clefable. I'd say Pidge. It's so tough picking between these two teams. I think they drafted two of the best teams in the league, period. I don't know who I'd rather have. I'm kind of leaning more towards Bob's team because I like the way it looks, to be honest. But Pidge's team is obviously no joke compared to this either. There's a lot of trouble on this team. There's a lot of trouble on Bob's team. A lot of things you got to deal with. I mean, Cinderace, we've seen in the EBL, we've seen it do incredibly well. There's obviously a lot more teams that have counters for Cinderace nowadays. So Cinderace might not be as big of a threat as it used to be, but Magearna and Dragonite are definitely things to keep an eye out for as well. Prankster Sableye, I'm sure he'll get up to other shenanigans with that Pokemon as well. Speed Boost Scolipede with Baton Pass. Get that into Cinderace or Magearna or even Dragonite. That's fantastic setup right there. I'm not sure what Magnezone is going to do. I know Bob has a plan for it. I probably should be studying. I do face him at some point. So I should be studying that Magnezone a little bit more. But his last three picks in Quagsire, Snorlax, and Clefable, they can all be great wall Pokemon, great defensive Pokemon. So yeah, he's got a great balance on his team between offense and defense. There's really, same with Pidge's team. There really aren't many there's really no glaring weaknesses. There's a little bit of, kinks in the armor. There's a little bit of weaknesses here and there that you can maybe exploit, but for the most part, they drafted great all-around teams that serve purposes on both ends, attack and defense, and can do a lot of utility and a lot of work. So these two, I'm kind of grouping them together because they're the heavy favorites to come out of this conference and get it back into the finals. So we'll see. I know their prep is insane. I know they both love to come up with some great strategies. They're both fantastic battlers. So they're my two to get, in my opinion, one of these two are the heavy favorites. I agree with that opinion in that one of these two is gonna get out of the Dynamaxx Conference into that final. That's what's been being said. That's what's been said around the EBL in the offseason and all that. So I think these two are definitely the heavy favorites coming out of the Dynamaxx Conference. Now, let's move on to a quick drink of water. My week 1 predictions. Let's do it. That is all 12 teams in the EBL. Those are my thoughts on them. Let's get into this season. Week 1, September 3rd, by the way. September 3rd, this Saturday, is when the first match is kicking off. I should have mentioned that. The first matches are kicking off. I should have mentioned at the beginning of the video. I'll probably put something there. All right, week 1. First up, we have the Atlanta Bravery versus the Texas Tyranitar. And I'm not going to lie, all the matches this week are incredibly tough to call. Atlanta Braviary have the Mono Bug team. Texas Tyranitar have the Mono Hoenn team. First, theme matchup we see. I believe they're also in the same division, so this could have big implications later on. I don't know. I think it might take Matt a second to get used to his bug team and how he should cover his weaknesses and all that good stuff. I think Alan might take advantage of that. Again, that Jirachi is a big problem. I don't really see anything on Matt's team that can directly counter that Jirachi. Maybe Volcarona is one of the only Pokemon that can take on that Jirachi head on. So I think it might take Matt a second to warm up to his bug team and get ready, or rather get used to countering his counters, right? So being able to save some of the Pokemon that can protect him from his glaring weaknesses. So I think maybe Matt gets off to a slow start here as he tries to play it a little safe. Maybe who knows, he might go crazy and just Swords Dance Pheromosa right off the rip. We'll see. Yeah, Matt has done that before. I wouldn't be surprised, but I feel like maybe it might take him a second to cover some of his weaknesses. I could see a Rayquaza lead for Texas just to try and check a couple Pokemon from coming in and doing a Swords Dance right off the rip or something like that. I could see that. So I'm leaning more towards Texas. I think I'm going to rock with Texas on this one. But if Atlanta just comes right off the rip and knows exactly what they're going to do, if Matt has a really good plan and he's able to counter his counters, I think he can do really well. But if he does not get rid of that Jirachi early, that Jirachi is going to be a problem. And that's the problem, is if Matt's counters go down, that Rayquaza is coming in, and that thing is going to come in hot, and it's going to take down quite a few of Matt's Pokemon. So he needs to be careful. He needs to be able to weather the storm. He needs to be able to, you know, check his counters and make sure that he stays safe. I just don't think he'll be able to do that throughout the whole match. I think at some point his counters are going to go down, and Texas is going to take advantage. So I'm rocking with Texas on this one for that matchup. Moving on, we have the LA Inferno versus the Kiwana Gengar. Oh, this is going to be a really tight matchup, man. This is going to be a really tight matchup. Like I said, when it comes to Tijuana, like, if those Pokemon, you know, Poltegeist, the boost legendaries, if they're left unchecked, if the Inferno can't come up with a good enough strategy to keep those Pokemon in check, this match could get out of hand. I don't know. This is a weird match. I don't see it being a sweep either way. I don't think one side sweeps the other. But it's weird. It's one of those matches where I could see it either being really close, like a 6-5, or like a big win on one side, like a 6-2, 6-1. I'm not going to pick anyone for this one because it's me. I don't want to sound biased, but I do think this one is going to come down to the wire, and it's going to come down to who preps better for, you know, each other's strongest Pokemon. And I have a feeling we'll see some surprises in this matchup from both sides. I would not be surprised if the Gengar come up with something big and come up with some big surprises this season and in this match. So this is going to be a really tight one. I think this is going to be probably one of the closer matchups this week. Moving on, we have the Kentucky Kinglers versus the Walton Wingles. The next few matchups are some pretty big tests for a few of these teams. The Walton Wingles, again, this is their first time getting their own team. This is gonna be their first full season, hopefully, knock on wood. They're going against the Kentucky Kinglers. This is not one of the harder matchups they could have gotten. Sorry, Derek. They're going against a team. Again, Derek could come out hot. Come up with some big strategies. Go with his strongest team right off the rip just to at least get a win on the board. But it's going to be up to how much Nate has really improved over the offseason. That 0-3, he didn't do too hot in those 3 games last season. He definitely could have done a lot better. So hopefully during this offseason, he's done some training and he's been improving. And he'll get to show it right here. He's got a pretty soft start. Sorry, Derek. But if Derek's not a bad battler, man. Derek's a really good coach. So if he wants to go big from the right from the get-go, and wants to test the new guy, I think he's more than capable of doing it. But I'm gonna rock with the Walton Wingles in this one. The only major thing, in my opinion, that Derek has going for him is the experience factor. So if Derek does go big from the start, I would not be surprised if the Kinglers walk away with a win on this one. But I'm gonna rock with the Wingles. I think they got the stronger team. I really hope Nate has been improving. I want to believe in that. I want to put some belief into him, and that he's been improving and getting better. I'm gonna rock with the Walton Wingles against the Kentucky Kinglers. Moving on, we have the Detroit Luxrays versus the Iowa Incineroar. For this one, man, I think this is my logic. I'm gonna go with Detroit, and here's my logic. Landon, wait. Okay, I see you typing. Your comment. Wait. Here's my logic. I think Landon's gonna get better as the season goes on. Again, this is a season where he's gonna have maybe less help than he's had before, and that might be a good thing for him in the long run, because he'll start to learn things on his own. He'll start to really improve on his own. Not to say he hasn't already. He's already grown a lot since season 2 as a battler. I think a lot of it's going to come down to his team building and his in-game decisions. I think those are going to be the 2 major things for him to try and improve on. And like I said, I think he's going to be a team. It's going to be the reverse of season 2. I think he's going to improve as the season goes on, but he's going to get out to a bit of a slow start here. Max has a pretty interesting team. We're not quite sure how he's going to counter his counters, much like Matt. We're not quite sure how he's going to counter his counters. Check his counters, I guess would be the better way to say that. So he might come up with some really different strategies. That Miltank might go huge this week. Who knows? So I'm going to take Detroit on this one. I think Landon gets off to a little bit of a slow start this season, and improves massively as the season goes on. I do think this match is going to be close. I think honestly Landon will have something for that Drizzle team. So that's what's going to make this match close. If he's able to utilize that well and neutralize the rain, I think he's got a good shot here. But I'm gonna rock with Detroit in this one. I think the rain reigns supreme. Moving on, we have the Florida for Alligators versus the Indiana Igglybuffs. This is a massive test for the Indiana Igglybuffs because the rest of their schedule is not easy. Their first 3 weeks are not to toot my own horn here, but they are pretty tough. I mean, he's got the former reigning champ, the current reigning champ, and then me. I'm here too. So his first 3 weeks are pretty tough. So he definitely needs to come up big in these first 3 weeks if he wants a good shot at making it to the final again. And it starts with this one. You cannot underestimate Lionheart. You cannot underestimate him. Again, he's a former reigning champ, a 2-time champ at that. So you can't underestimate him. This is a huge test for Bob right off the rip. If Bob comes up big and just takes out Florida, I think we might have a really troubling team, a really dangerous team on our hands. We already know what Bob can do, but if he comes up big, comes up with a big win over Florida, I'm gonna be trembling in my boots because I have him next week. So this is gonna be a huge test for him. I'm gonna rock with Indiana. I'm gonna rock with the second place competitor from last season, in his first season as well. Bob impressed in every single match he had last season, and I have faith that he's gonna come up big in this one. But that being said, you can't count out the 2-time champ. We can't count out the 2-time champ. I'm sure he's got some tricks up his sleeve to disrupt Bob and the plans he's got. It's going to be a big chess match. I think this is going to be another chess match, much like their match last season. And it's going to be a big chess match between these two. And fully expect this match to go the distance. But I'm going to rock with Indiana on this one. Finally, our final matchup of week 1. We have the DC Starmie's versus the Essex Espeons. The reigning champ has his first crack at his title defense here. Newcomer Timmy, not sure what to expect out of him. Not sure at all what to expect out of him. He's a complete wild card, which could play into his favor against Pidge. It's a big thing that can play into his favor in this match. He can come up with some crazy strategies and just generally catch Pidge off his feet. Just kind of trip him up a little bit. I think a lot of it is going to be how well Timmy preps for what Pidge is potentially going to bring. There's a lot of ways Pidge could go with this team, and if Timmy's not ready, one little slip up, and I know Pidge will take advantage. Timmy also needs to be ready for the bulkiness of Pidge's team, because Pidge loves a good defensive battle. He's not afraid of a switch fest either. We saw that last season. That's generally his strategy. He's a pretty good Pokemon battler is what I was gonna say. Where he's able to flip it from defense to offense. He's really good at flipping the switch. So Timmy really needs to be careful. I'm going to rock with Essex in this one because I think experience is going to reign supreme over Timmy. I think Pidge is going to have the right strategies. You want to talk about a big test? This is a huge test for Pidge. If he can't get past a newcomer in week 1, he might not get past some of the tougher opponents he has this season. And he's got some tough opponents. I mean, he's got Landon next week, and then he's got Bob in week 3, that final rematch, the championship rematch. So this is a huge test for him, just as much as it's a huge test for Yeltnib. I should probably use his YouTube name. You guys, I don't know if you know who Bob is. So, but regardless, this is a huge test for Pidge, and I think he really needs this win here. I'm going to rock with Essex. So, my week 1 predictions: Texas, undisclosed, Walton, Detroit, Indiana, and Essex. To everyone who I didn't pick, get out there and prove me wrong. Okay, I want to be eating my foot. Is that the phrase? I think that's the phrase, right? My foot in my mouth. I don't remember what it is. Make me eat my words. How about that? Why don't you get out there and prove me wrong? Come up big with a win. Maybe that'll give you guys a little bit of extra motivation. But that's going to be it for this preseason roundup. What do you think about the teams this season? Let me know all your thoughts about season 4 down below. Let me know your week 1 predictions as well. Again, the season starts on September 3rd on Saturday. You do not want to miss this season, man. These teams are stacked. This is going to be an incredible season. I can see it. It's going to be really tight, really close. You do not want to miss it. Again, September 3rd, Saturday, September 3rd. That's gonna be it for me though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the Elite Battle League channel for future roundups and also top 5 plays and fails that are coming in the future, as well as some potential future content on the channel. We'll see, but that's really all it's gonna be, is those 3 for now. The rankings as well, I'm not sure if they're going to be happening or not. We haven't really gotten full confirmation on that, but we'll see. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to all the coaches down below so you do not miss any matches from this season. And yeah, check out all the socials down below, follow and subscribe where it's all necessary, and of course be sure to share all the socials with your friends, family, everybody know. Let the people know the Elite Battle League is where it's at. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.